Whoa! We totally cut out in that last part. That was wild. But you know what? Hey, this is part four, and life goes on. This is episode four. This is part four of episode four. So now we have an eight. Let's see if we get some nice vibrational soul energy in this episode. I mean, whatever. I'm your host, I'm your author, Tehuti. Today, we are continuing to decolonize, decode, and decipher like we're dancing my tablets, specifically the Emerald Tablet of Thoth the Atlantean, which is translated by M. Doreal. And it's him bringing together multiple translations from other people. So we just got some beautiful leaves, some nice green that we are about to put in our lungs for a second to assist us through this process. Because, it's never, ever, ever about being reliant on anything externally. It is about knowing that it is a tool for you to use in whatever conscious, subconscious, even unconscious way you desire. Spirituality at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, though, is desire. If you don't feel like doing something, you're really not going to do it. You won't even be in the body to do that. So it's very easy to get lost in starting to become overly judgmental of whatever habits that you may have in the physical world, whether that's even like exercising every day. People try to say is unhealthy. People will try to say that you making art every day is unhealthy. People can literally just say anything that you do every day is unhealthy based on their perspective. But if what you're doing is helping you produce and it keeps your vibration and your frequency even in a state that is simultaneously comfortable, but also you are producing. Life is outside the comfort zone. Let's not get it twisted. And smoking ganja, although it's beautiful, makes you pretty comfortable. There's a reason they call potheads stoners, right? When you get stoned, you're just stuck on the couch. It's big earth energy. So weed makes you grounded. That's the point. It's very nice in that way. When society, this language says that we get high when we smoke, it's really a representation of how low vibrational the people who are smoking are, or the people who are making this language are. Because really, weed isn't supposed to get you high necessarily. Although, I mean, it literally does depend on your vibration beforehand. So if you are very excited, weed will literally calm you down. But if you're really down here and depressed, weed can bring you up. The thing is, you should be naturally happier and higher vibrational without weed. In my opinion, weed is a grounding agent. Weed is meant to help you calm down, get chill, slow it down, so you can almost have perhaps like more control over the wheel. Like I love to smoke for art, for creating, for getting into that right brain abstract space. And really that's the spirit realm. So that's where, smoke too much weed, you can get heady, right? You might start to pick up on things even not in this reality. And now you're just like almost disassociating from here. And that's what happens with people when they get too heady and they don't actually know what's going on. They don't have the vocabulary. They're like tapping into like other dimensions and their awareness is just getting too big. And it's even their awareness of like their other bodies that their spirit may have in other simulations or just what's going on in their spirit space. And if this is a spirit that has created a body because it is running away from itself, that's where drugs will actually make them violent. And then there's no shortage of people who can do any substance and get tweaked off of it, just angry off of it. I don't really see that with weed though. Show me an example. Show me an example of somebody who genuinely like is upset, smokes weed, and gets more upset. It's a grounding agent. It calms us down so we can handle the task at hand. Dealing with this colonialism gets very frustrating. I get very fiery. And yeah, I can start to speak in a more higher frequent pitch because I'm starting to speak in air mode instead of bringing it down to earth mode. If I was to like really chill and not feel so pressed about getting this information out. Instead, I would just be the information. Now I'm in my Virgo Tehuti mode versus my air Hermes mode, where now I'm back in my higher frequency, higher voice because I'm trying to communicate it over a longer distance. You feel me? So this is the difference between air and earth and whatever. So weed is earth. You take fire to it, it turns into air. So that's where it does make you high, but your frequency is not supposed to be at earth. It's supposed to be like at spirit. So weed actually brings you down, but in a way that makes you feel high because you are in a body and you are earth. Let's continue. A lot of this, like we said in the last segment, is metaphorical in that the words, like the things that the words are pointing to are going to be true, but like it's almost like so twisted based on an agenda that none of it really matters. Like it does matter, but we are truly limited by the perspective that the spirits who stole these systems are naturally at. And then not only are we limited by that, we are then limited by how they want to limit other people from their limited perspective. So it's like layers of limitation that I am trying to break through with the English language through this series. So like a lot of this stuff will resonate, but almost just because it's keywords. And a lot of this, the point is that we're decoding it. The English language, these authoritarian white supremacists are very much going to continuously project onto the indigenous peoples, onto us, that we are being ruled by something else and that we're worshiping something else because that's what they are. When really we are infinite individuals who are coming together and agreeing to create life together. So then that's where we have the wisdom to cool down our fire into water instead of being individuals who are consumed by fire. This is the big difference between indigenous, more native, I suppose, magical, innately spiritual peoples versus the more generally European, really overall like non-melanated European, quote unquote, people who identify as white, but more so artificial intelligence type thinking entities who are really focused on metal. This is the main difference, where the indigenous peoples are focusing on water, and so they create earth out of water, and the European artificial intelligence peoples are focusing on metal. And to make metal, they need to use their fire and take that to earth that's already been created. They're not creating their own earth, though. So their whole vision relies on stealing the earth of indigenous peoples. And that's what all of North and South America has been, and really so much of planet Earth. This whole globe is these artificial intelligence entities taking fire into indigenous earth to turn it into their metal. And then this metal separates them from nature. So that's just going to show constantly in the language. They can't really perceive like creating life and working together to create life. They're in the perspective of Their life was created by something outside of themselves, and they're serving it, so everyone else must be too. And then that's what allows them to commit genocide and very horrific acts, because then they get into the logical, judgmental energy of, oh, well, we're all created by this one entity, but I'm following the rules better than them. So let's go do anything we want to them because we're following the rules better. Like, that's what justified the Europeans doing all their crusades and all this Christian colonialism throughout the entire globe. Quite interesting. Deep in the halls of life grew a flower, flaming, expanding, driving toward the night, backward the night. So again, more hatred of darkness, which is hatred of indigenous peoples, because this English language was made to colonize and steal and simultaneously erase indigenous people's spirituality. So darkness represents your emotions. Light represents thought. So anytime we see something in these tablets about light banishing the darkness, they're literally just talking about their thought banishing your emotions, banishing how you feel about your spirit. That's what it means to be a slave. So it doesn't matter if you feel free. Their thought is that you need to work for them and be paid nothing for it and let them do whatever they want to you. And then that thought fills you up, and now that's your life. And then it's up to you, like, how are you about to address that? But it's always going to be darkness. Like we see, like when you cast a light, it just casts more darkness. The idea that darkness, this is what the first tablets were trying to push, that darkness is ignorance and that darkness is just the absence of light, is a Luciferian light supremacist lie. Just straight up. Place they around it thrones, 32, places for each of the children of light, placed so that they were bathed in the radiance, filled with the life from the eternal light. There, time after time, they placed their first created bodies, so that they might be filled with the spirit of life. 100 years out of each 1,000 must the life-giving light flame forth on their bodies, quickening, awakening the spirit of life. Must the life-giving light flame forth on their bodies. Okay. So again, this is all like lost in light stuff. There in a circle from eon to eon sit the great masters, living a life not known among men. There in the halls of life they lie sleeping. Free flows their soul through the bodies of men. Time after time, while their bodies lie sleeping, they incarnate in the bodies of men, teaching and guiding onward and upward out of the darkness into the light. There in the hall of life, filled with their wisdom, known not to the races of man, living forever beneath the cold fire of life, sit the children of light. There are times they awaken and come from the depths to the lights among men, infinite beings among finite men. He who has grown by progress from darkness, who has lifted himself from the night into light, becomes free of the halls of Amenti, free of the flower of light and of life. So to translate that real quick, we're just going to make that work. That's talking about going from living in the first, second, and third dimension to the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. Because down here, the first, second, and third dimension is the death realm, because it is emotionally constantly at the reaction of what is being created and happening in the realm of life, which is the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. And that's the realm where life is more so everything, the vibe, because spirits can more freely use light to express their infinite potential, versus down here where this is way more dense. And we are inevitably doing everything that we're supposed to be doing anyway from light, but as we can see, like, this is way more dense. So thinking about like the light, the life realm, fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension would be like living your dreams now. where you just have way more freedom in a physical light form. Whereas down here, it's way more like emotional and way more seemingly like being in bondage to light. Hence, all these, writings, the whole vibration, the idea of like this is hell, and people, spirits in general that then feel in bondage want to put others in bondage. And then that's where really it is all a vibration thing as well. So because spirits are more free to express themselves in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, they allow other spirits to express themselves more freely. And then down here, because spirits are more in bondage and they feel less in control, they want to take control away from others. And again, this is just me using words to explain now the vibrational difference between the 1, 2, and third dimension and the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, between the death, hell realm, and heaven. We're talking about freedom versus slavery, which makes sense, again, considering 1, 2, and 3 is being created from 4, 5, and 6. And 4, 5, and 6 is being created from 7, 8, and 9. That's the spiritual realm. That's birth. That's new, always new, because it's so infinite. So that's new infinity, then creates life, and life must inevitably die. And death is just constant transformation. It looks like an end down here because it's so low vibrational. But again, that's being lost in light. So that's the challenge down here. And entities that colonize the tablets want to get us lost in light. We're not about it. We know this. Let's keep going. There in the hall of life, filled with their wisdom, known not to the races of man, living forever beneath the cold fire of life, said the children of light. There are times they awaken and come from the depths to be light among men, infinite beings among finite men. He who is grown by progress from darkness, who has lifted himself from the night into light, becomes free of the halls of Amenti, free of the flower of light and of life. Then, guided by wisdom and knowledge, he passes from men to the master of life. There he may dwell as one with the masters, free from the bonds of the darkness of night. Seated within the flower of radiance sit 7 lords from the space-times above us, helping and guiding with infinite wisdom the children of men through the pathway of time. Seated within the flower of radiance, 7 lords from the space-times above us. Interesting. Mighty and strange. I've gotten questions about these lords before for cosmic conversations, and I wasn't actually, I don't really, that already sounds like the point of a lord is that it's a somehow lower light that towers over you, though. So a lord is answering to someone else in the chain of command, but it is above you. So the 7 lords would rule over you. And it's just a product of this language, English, that we're saying these things. Anything you see is an externalization of yourself. That's going to be the most powerful stance to stand in, because you're actually then going to be able to feel out who you truly are amongst all these things. The moment you believe you are something, you open yourself up to letting other spirits utilize fear to manipulate you to fulfill their space. Mighty and strange, veiled with their power, silent, all-knowing, drawing the life force. They are different, yet one with the children of men. I, different yet one with the children of light, custodians and watchers of the force of man's bondage, ready to loose it when the light has been reached. Okay. First and most mighty sits the veiled presence, Lord of lords, the infinite 9, Lord over the other lords of the cycles, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, cool. So these numbers are everything. If you've seen my tablet talks, not tablet talks, we're already here. If you've seen the building blocks of life, that's where I explain how spirits create reality, and then numbers basically are the essentially universally agreed upon way of what that looks like. So it now only makes sense. And this is why numbers always make sense, and how this language was very much focused on money and using numbers to control what cannot be controlled. Because numbers are just a natural expression of what cannot be controlled. This is the point. This is the point. The point is not that numbers rule over life. We rule over numbers, okay? All of us. All of us as spirits. If you're hearing my voice right now, you are an infinite expression of yourself. And numbers are just the way that that looks for everybody. And that's why we as a collective then have numbers. Just overall, you're not going to have anything without numbers. Like truly, try to imagine a story that doesn't have numbers, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, like quantity at all. Does anything exist without numbers? So with these tablets, it looks like it's about to get into here is going into the energy of each number, which is sort of like I broke down just now with death, life, and new, birth, nothingness, infinity, spirit, the all, but really infinite nothingness, creating life and death, and that's the cycling of the soul. But here, like again, with this language, with English especially, using the term lords makes it truly sound like, and I know people read this and read this and think like, oh, okay, I need to worship them. You're supposed to worship them. Because the point of a lord is that you like, right? Don't you pay taxes to a lord? You give them money. Money only represents your soul. So this is all a soul trap. It's all a soul trap. And you yourself are beautiful and infinite and perfect just the way you are. It's literally just a matter of you feeling that way and then you vibing with people and communicating that. And then that's where we can start building lessons together. And that's the point of why spirits externalize themselves from their alone nothingness space and come together into a space like this so that we can all learn what we can't learn when we're alone. It's kind of hard to teach yourself things when you're alone, right? You're you. You are your imagination. This is why spirituality is individuality forever and always. You will never catch me as Thoth or Symmetry or Chickatet or Hermes Trismegistus or Chase Clarence Calloway or Irisel, any spirit, none of those labels, just me, but not me. Look past all that. You will not catch me ever saying that you are created by something outside of you and that we are all created by the same thing. To take that further, never, never, ever. Like that is spiritual colonialism. That is whoever then we are believing created us is just stealing all of our imaginations and all of our feelings about our imaginations. And then thus the way we communicate to ourselves. And that's all based on how they communicate to themselves. And then that's how they build their structure, by stealing our minds. This is mind control, okay? On a cosmic level. This is all realms and realities. This is cosmic mental warfare. All right, mind is all. So yes, we're talking about 9. 9 is the ascended one. 9 is, right, the ultimate number, because 9 is a spirit that is fully realized inside of itself and fully free. So this is like 9 creates 10. 10 is Hev 10. Heaven. Hev 10. As far as a new simulation. This is literally how numbers progress. If you've seen the building blocks of life, then you already know. Reps are important though. 9 is a 0 and a 1 coming together. So that's the unconscious merging fully with its own consciousness. And it takes a subconscious to do that. So that's truly the mind, the logic, and the emotion. And then from there, when a spirit fully combines its consciousness with its nothingness, it exits the simulation it was in. It can then create a whole new simulation. And that is how the universe is meant to expand. That's what 10 is. Hev 10 is 1 and 0. So 1 is an ego, a flame, and then that 0 right? We have a double digit. The 0 is an extra spirit. That's an extra space that comes in to affirm that ego. So once the 9 is already full and balanced inside of itself, it can then externalize itself and create a heaven that expresses that. And then that simulation will then become a new world, and infinity continues. There they sit, mighty and potent, free of all time and space, not of this world, yet akin to it. They are the elder brothers of the children of men. Like, there's so much lostness to say free of time and space. Like, bro, everything's in space. Who wrote this? They don't know what they're talking about. Judging and weighing with their wisdom, they watch the progress of light among men. There before them I was led by the dweller, and watched them merge with one from above. Then from him came forth a voice, saying, Great thou art, Thoth, among children of men, free henceforth of the halls of Amenti, master of life among children of men. Taste not of death, except as thou wilt it, drink ye of life to eternity's end. Henceforth forever, life is thine for the taking. Henceforth is death at the call of your hand. Dwell here, or leave whenever ye desireth. Amenti is boundless to the Son of Man. Take up life in what form ye desireth, children of the light, who has grown among men. Choose thy work, for all must labor, and never abandon the pathway of light. Thou hast gained one step on the long pathway upward. The mountain of light is infinite. Each step you take heightens the mountain. All of your progress lengthens the goal. Approach thou forever the infinite wisdom, as ever before thee recedes the goal. So, fun fact, my name is Chase now because it is a play on hide and seek. And that's just because in Atlantis, and my Atlantean name in general, because it's also my Mesoamerican name, Chigatet. And Chigatet means seeker of wisdom. So Chase means chaser of wisdom, because what happens after you seek wisdom long enough? You find it. And once you find it, you chase it. And this is what these tablets are talking about, where the chase for wisdom is never ending. And that's because it's you. It is you infinitely expressing yourself, and you infinitely bringing your nothingness through your feeling into the somethingness. And you consistently doing that will literally, that is building the mountain that you're climbing. So this is why, like, the mountain, there's never a top. You yourself are building the mountain as you continue to climb the mountain, because it's your spirit and it's just the full energy of infinite abundance, and you getting to play as you express yourself and who you truly are. And then you just vibe and have infinite freedom, and boom. That's what we're talking about here. Thou hast gained one step on the long pathway upward, the mountain of light is infinite. Free thou art of the halls of Amenti, to walk hand in hand with the lords of the world. One in one purpose, working together, bringers of light to the children of men. Then from his throne came one of the masters, taking my hand, leading me onward, through all the halls of the deep hidden land. He led me through the halls of Amenti, showing me mysteries known not to man. Through the dark passage, downward he led me, into the hall where resides the dark death. Vast as space lay the great hall before me, walled by darkness, yet filled with light. Before me rose a great throne of darkness. On it sat a veiled figure of night. Darker than darkness sat the great figure, dark with a darkness not of the night. Before it then paused the master, speaking the word that brings about life. O, master of darkness, guide of the way from life into life. Before thee I bring a son of the morning. Touch him not ever with the power of the night. Not ever with the power of the night. So death, okay. Call not his flame into the darkness of night. Know him and see him as one of our brothers, lifted from darkness into the light. Release his flame from its bondage. Let it flame free through the darkness of night. So this is basically framing my spiritual liberation as being given to me by a Lord, basically, and that I was in bondage before, and then through learning and being indoctrinated on their system, I got out of bondage through their eyes, and then I became me. No. So, is there truth in here? Yes. What is the truth in here? That nothing is done alone. So all of us as spirits are bringing what we already are out of each other. And we build societies on this. Now, this is very much making it sound like I am just a student and basically just one in a long line of people who are going through this system of education, basically. And that's where we can then see the Industrial Revolution sort of motivation here, where it's not that there wasn't a system, but it was certainly way more individual and way more cosmic than the way that we are perceiving systems today, and perceiving just the way that spirits work together in general. Because this is a big thing that's really throwing me off and like making this not make too much sense is how much they're hammering in that darkness is negative when it's just natural. So that's what makes this incredibly artificial and like doesn't really resonate. Although it's like it has truth, but it doesn't really resonate because it's fully pushing this agenda of darkness being bondage and slavery and like negative, but it's just a natural part of life. Like it's a true desire and thus unsustainable to just want light and life. Like you are light and life. Like it doesn't see that's where like even for me to like really go deeper into it, it doesn't make sense. Because when you die, let's say, that's whatever, you die, right? You in your body, you leave your body. You are the light. And it's up to you as your light to follow the path of your darkness, to follow your own vibe, to listen to your spirit and go through the invisible to reunite with yourself. It's truly just that vibe. Darkness is the vibration. This is talking about the desire to run away from whatever vibration you've got. And that's what all these tablets are about pushing onto people, that they, it's that Christian stuff. You're not good enough on your own, so you need our light to fill you up, and then you need to worship us so that you can feel good. And then you will only ever feel good as long as you're worshiping us. And it's always then going to be that lens of like light versus darkness, thought versus emotion. And this light needs your emotion to be this light. So it's why they're trying so hard to convince you. I am infinitely powerful on my own as an individual, straight up. Like these light white supremacist colonial terrorists, crusaders, cowboys, always trying to steal and just steal and steal and steal. So metallic with the stealing, the steal. They want to separate life, separate me from my ideas, separate all of us from the truth, and steal everything by making us think that we didn't create our own creations so that they can use our own creations against us. Disgusting. In fact, let me get grounded again. Because I'm like about to blow up because I'm really just, thinking about things. Hey, we're here. Everything's happening now. Perfect timing. Let's chill. It's just the more they steal, the more they separate earth from water and just true life. Turn off these notifications real quick. And that's the point of them stealing. That's the point of metal, to separate earth from water. So they steal so that they can take what we made and use it against us and put us in bondage with it. To take the earth that we constructed to play in and use their fire to turn it into metal shackles. And then force us to build a world that we're not even allowed to live in, on land that we're creating spiritually. While being taught that us spiritually creating this land, it's not us creating it. It is us only creating it based on us being created by something else that allowed them to colonize us and do whatever they want to us. Hey, bro. The anger is real, palpable, yum. All right, let's continue. So that's the perspective this is coming from. That's why this does not resonate, okay? Why we're breaking it down. I'm about to chill out a little more again. I'm going to have to pack another bowl, actually, for real. I am getting heated. Doesn't air just fuel the flame, Chase? Low key. Low key. Low key. All right. Very fun. So, yeah, stealing, right? Stealing is metallic, metal, separates earth from water. This is the point. So this just doesn't resonate. That's what's like rough. Like I should be able to like be here and read and just like actually get the truth. But the fact is I can't, and I can't straight up like, there's no even percentage of like being able to be like, well, this is true, this is not. Because really it's almost like none of it's true because it's all foreign agenda. It's all like the vibration is real, but the frequency is of this Luciferian light supremacist agenda idea. So then it just like it murks everything. Everything. And it really kind of just affirms that it's important not to get too lost in stories because you are your stories. And even more so, you yourself are the story. It's not even how the story looks. It's about how the story feels. So that's where you, ideally, if you are truly in tune with your spirit, especially, should be able to come to any reality and see a story that is about you and not get lost in the details that may have changed over time. Because we kind of know that stories change over time, right? That's like a sort of a joke. About stories, like the details always have to change almost because it's like based on the people telling them. The more spirits tell them, the more this one intention is being changed by all these other intentions. So now it has all these extra details on it based on all those individual perspectives of those spirits, and now it's not the same story, but it should be the same vibration so that it still resonates throughout time. And then if you're the spirit that story is about, you should be able to communicate with your spirit and get the truth on those stories. That's what I feel like my big mission is throughout my 20s, maybe even my whole life, and really all existences, I suppose. But no, I mean, it's a balance. You can remember every detail from every life if you really wanted to, but it's just like there's a syndrome or some mental problem in this realm that's like that, where people remember all the details from this life and it's too much. You know, like we forget things from this life. So we're not going to remember all the details from past lives or future lives. The point is that our spirit is expressing one intention, and that one intention feels like a certain vibration. And then based on our vibration, that is how we experience our own intention. And then from there, that's what all that looks like. And that's the fire and water, the internal becoming the air, the external, and actually settling down into simulations and earth that we're in right now. Then in the great space before me grew flame after flame from the veil of the night. Uncounted millions leapt there before me, some flaming forth as flowers of fire. Others there were that shed a dim radiance, glowing but faintly from out of the night. Some there were that faded swiftly. Others grew from small spark of light. Each was surrounded by its dim veil of darkness, yet flaming with light that could never be quenched, coming and going like fireflies in springtime, filling the space with light and with life. Then spoke a voice, mighty and solemn. These lights are the souls among men, growing and fading, existing forever, changing yet living through death into life. When they have bloomed into flower and reached the zenith of growth in their life, I swiftly then send my veil of darkness, shrouding and changing to new forms of life. Steady upward throughout the ages, growing, expanding into yet other flames, lighting the darkness with yet greater power, quenched yet unquenched by the veil of the night. So grows the soul of man, ever upward, quenched yet unquenched by the darkness of night. I, death, come, yet do not remain, for life eternal exists in the all. I am only an obstacle in the pathway, quickly conquered by the infinite light. Awaken, O flame that burns ever inward, flame forth and conquer the veil of the night. So death is trying to get conquered. That's fun. Life eternal exists in the all. I am only an obstacle. Damn. Alright, you didn't. I want to call you an obstacle, bro. I feel like you're really important. Death? Like, bro, see, this English. Yo. Oh, wow. Death is beautiful. This is hatred of the feminine. Like, this is so toxically masculine. Oh, man, no woman. Death is transformation, my guy. Like, death, nothing ends. Like, so this idea, like, you would have to, for this to feel good, I have to put myself in someone who's not me. For this to feel good, I would have to think that death is the end. I would have to not think that death is a transformation of who I am, but that it's end and then there's nothing. But even then, I would have to be like, okay, what's wrong with nothing? And then I would have to be in a feeling. I would literally have to not like my nothingness. I would really have to not like my spirit. I would really not have to like my own space to resonate with that. Because that's all this is weaponizing, is spirits who are scared to leave their body because they're going to be alone again. So when you're scared of that, and then you think that death is the end of your body, that's how fear just gets you, basically. It's a wrap. Fear can eat you up constantly. Like, you will be endlessly consumed by fear as long as you never want to be alone and thus are scared for any body that exists in an all one realm to end. Right? Like, you are all one here. You have trillions of cells working together constantly to support your consciousness so that you can communicate with all these other spirits who have trillions of cells supporting their consciousnesses. And then it's all these other spirits making all of us possible. And we have to breathe in spirits constantly to even stay connected to the simulation in general. Our heart has to constantly pump liquid to keep us connected so our body can communicate. So this is the all one realm. This is the feminine realm. To be alone is to be fully self-sustaining, and it's very masculine. And that is eternal life. Yes, there is truth in this stuff. Yes. They're getting you lost, though, in making you fear death, making you fear the woman, making you fear your emotions, because your emotions are being produced from your nothingness. That's your nothing going into your fire, going into your water. So if you're a spirit that doesn't like your feelings when you're alone, and you only like your feelings when you're with other people, that's a problem. That's how hell is created. Because what happens there is all these spirits who don't want to be alone will then project all their problems onto each other based on why they don't want to be alone. Because if someone doesn't want to be alone with themselves, you're about to learn why. The more you're alone with them, you're going to learn why they don't want to be alone with themselves. And then it's up to you. You're going to remember, like, snap, I'm an individual. Like, I'm not this person. Because this, like, that, I don't resonate with this. This is what happens to most couples. This is why spirituality is individuality. Everyone is alone. And if you don't feel good about being alone, then it's easy to continuously run away into relationships and project your negativity into said relationships. And then keep creating problems and act like the world is the problem. And just keep pointing the finger at everyone consistently. And that's an epidemic here in America. Straight up. So it's very much coming from this idea that death is the end, and the end then goes to nothingness, and people hate their nothingness. Then in the midst of the flames and the darkness grew there one that drove forth the night, flaming, expanding, growing ever brighter, until at last there is nothing but light. Then spoke my guide, the voice of the Master. See thy own soul as it grows in the light, free now forever from the Lord of the night. Forward he led me through many great spaces, filled with the mysteries of the children of light, mysteries that man may never know of, until he too is a son of the light. Then back he led me into the hall of delight. There I knelt before the great masters, Lord of all from the cycles above. Then he spoke words of great power, saying, Thou hast been made free of the halls of Amenti. Choose your work among the children of men. I said, O great master, let me be a teacher of men, leading them onward and upward, until they, too, are lights among men, freed from the veil of the night that surrounds them, flaming with light that shall shine among men. Facts. Again, does not translate well to English, but with everything that I just covered, facts. The voice then spoke to me, saying, Go as thou wilt, so be it decreed. Or is this a death voice? Do I need to go back? Go as thou wilt. Thou art master of your own destiny, free to take or reject at will. Take the power, take the wisdom, shine as a light among the children of men. This is not one accent in particular, all right? So don't hold me to it. Don't try to label this accent. Upward then, the dweller led me. I dwelt again among the children of men, teaching and showing some of my wisdom. Son of the light, a fire among men. Now again I tread the path downward, seeking the light in the darkness of night. Hold you and keep you these words that I leave you. Preserve my record as a guide to the children of men. And look what they did to it. Luckily, I'm back, actually given the proper account, whatever. Not really preserved. I mean, it's preserved other spaces. Clearly, it's not being presented here. But hey, this is definitely a way more grounded version in terms of well, I suppose grounded in, stories and details of this realm. So that's fine. It is more like the first tablet. But no, actually, yes, this is getting way more into the nitty gritty details. And that's the point of Earth. So we're about to continue this in part 5. We'll see how this transforms.